Welcome to Talkin Tires, the podcast that delves deep into the world of tires. Join us as we explore everything from the science behind the manufacturing to the latest innovations in tire recycling. Our aim is to provide you with a comprehensive understanding of tires, including how they work, how to maintain them, and how to dispose of them responsibly. Whether you're a seasoned mechanic, curious car enthusiast, or an avid recycler, Talkin Tires is the perfect podcast for anyone who wants to learn about the essential component of the modern vehicle and heavy equipment. So buckle up and join us for an informative and engaging journey into the world of tires.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Talkin Tires. I'm your host, Craig Hunter, the president of Tire Reclaim. And I'm here with Chris Gabrelcik of Gilead Dynamics. Yes, sorry, that's a mouthful.
That's a good
But
one.
we got through it. And hey, I really wanted to have you on. We got all kinds of technologies represented here at the Tire Recycling Foundation 10th Annual Conference. We're really glad to be here, set up doing live podcasts. And we've got Chris here to talk a little bit about pyrolysis. It's not the most common theme. You hear a lot about crumb molding. There's a lot of guys here about shredders and shredding. But you bring something a little new to the table. I'm pretty excited to learn about it. So
Yes,
welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
You bet. So one thing, before we get into products too much, let's hear about Chris. So
Sure.
There's got to be a way. Everybody has some kind of weird story or something that happened. How did you fall into tires and tire recycling as a potential?
So I was a person who sold industrial lubricants. I went into plants and found solutions to, pain points for them. Eventually, I ended up making a product for Navistar and then made a retail product and built a company called Lubrication Specialties.
Where at?
It's in Mount Gilead, Ohio.
Okay.
And we made a product that ended up becoming a retail product called Hot Shot Secret. And it was focused on diesel owners, semi-truck drivers, pickup truck owners. And what we did was we built a professional grade product and put it on the shelf. And it took off and was very successful. The company grew. We're on the shelf at Walmart, AutoZone, any retailer, rural crane tractor supply. We also built products for race car drivers. We've got 6 of the 6 diesel world records. So if you're a diesel racer, like the world's fastest diesel truck, world's fastest diesel pickup, they're all Hot Shot Secret drivers. So during this process, while we were building our factory, we have a factory with blending facilities, a $1 million research and development lab, and we do packaging, sales, as well as marketing, all in Mount Gilead. We have a distribution plant and a manufacturing plant. We stumbled onto this microwave idea about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, I can see the lead in, right? It kind of makes sense. Yeah.
It was strange. Our chemical engineer used to work for the fellow that was trying to perfect the microwave processing of tires. And after I had hired him and I had bought his company, which was an antifreeze recycling company, we were sitting around drinking beers one day after work and talking about how it worked. Everything always starts with a couple beers.
Yeah. And a napkin's usually involved.
There was napkins.
Some sketching.
Yep. We're sketching. And, he was telling me what they were trying to do was microwave the tire shreds and turn them into carbon black. And, it was a batch system. And I said, that doesn't seem like it's a good idea to me. It seems like you should be able to take the processing plant to the tires because transporting the tires is a pain in the butt. So we're sitting there, again, drinking a couple beers, and we got out graph paper. See, we're going up from the napkin to graph paper.
I like it. Upgrade.
And I said, hey, would this fit on a 53-foot semi-truck trailer, flatbed? So we're Googling how big is, a microwave oven. How big would a nitrogen generator be? How big would an air compressor be?
And we're not talking about warming up your burritos at the gas station. These microwaves are...
Yeah, 200 kilowatts.
Okay.
So, yeah, they're huge.
But dimension-wise, are they 4 or 5
They're the size
feet?
of a freezer.
Okay.
Like a home freezer. But there's wave guides, like ductwork that takes them and puts them into the oven itself. So the generator, the motor for the size of a freezer or your refrigerator at home. The oven itself is about 12 foot long with 3 compartments.
Okay.
So we're sitting there sketching this out. Then we start cutting out little cardboard cutouts and putting them on there. It's like, hey, this would work. So what would it take? Well, we have to hire an engineer that's a microwave engineer to kind of put it together. So we did that. And then we hired another engineering company to design the whole thing out and make blueprints. And then it was, okay, now we're really into it. I thought somebody would buy the idea at that point, and everybody I presented it to said, yeah, well, it's way too much risk for me. You build it, and then we'll buy it.
So let me slow you down just a little bit. So what would you call that process? So have you decided a name as far as, it's got to be tire, shred, microwave, carbon black, something about the process. What would you, or what do they call that process?
We called it the machine. We started calling it the tire hog.
The tire
hog.
Okay, tire hog.
And it just caught on. We didn't have an official marketing name or anything. It was just, there was no website. It was just us working on it.
All right.
But
it's a pyrolysis. That's the best way.
Yeah, it's just tire pyrolysis using microwaves instead of traditional heat.
Okay.
So the idea was, from the scientific papers that we read, that heating up the rubber from the inside out was a better way to do it because you do less damage to the carbon. So most of the people that we've seen were tumbling it like you would asphalt and introducing indirect air, like basically a dryer. So as you're tumbling it, you're basically beating it up and compressing it. Our process, you're running it through the microwave, you're evaporating all the hydrocarbons, and it comes out looking exactly like it did when it went in. There's literally no difference. If I had a pile of both, you couldn't tell. But when you pick up the product, you can crunch it between your fingers, it turns to dust. So you've evaporated out all the hydrocarbons. Then we run it through 3 condensers, and it separates out the oil and the gas. So the oil, of course, is recollected, and then the gas we send into a gas generator, which powers the whole plant.
Right, and you talked about that it's self-sufficient as far as energy goes.
So the goal was to have 2 53-foot semi-truck trailers I could pull up, be connected within 8 hours with 4 guys, and running. So the second day you're actually running the process and be totally self-sufficient. We use propane to start the generator. Once it's started, then we got everything warmed up. The gas coming off powers the whole plant. So
that sounds great.
Well, the idea was, the vision was to make tires valuable. Like right now, the last talk I had just gone to was about grants and regulation and how we can keep people from throwing tires away. Well, we don't throw aluminum cans away. Why? Because it's easy to recycle, right? Once it became easy to recycle, we started doing it all the time. Back in the 70s, everybody's throwing them out the window. Now they get recycled. Well, what if we could make every tire worth $5 or $10?
That's the same goal I have, right? Increase the market value of tires and tire products, and then you can eventually pay. Just like I want to call it the tin can of tires someday. Exactly. I really do. Yeah.
Well, and that was our goal. It's like if we could make this affordable for everybody and bring entrepreneurs into it instead of making it a government-initiated process. I mean, the government dollars can only go so far, and I'm not, faulting them. They're doing a great job as far as trying to push the needle. But each one of our units should be able to produce between $2 and $3 million worth of net profit per year.
And is that based off of the carbon black sales, oil sales?
The carbon black and the oil.
Because you consume most of the gas.
All the gas gets consumed.
All the gas gets consumed. Okay.
All the gas is consumed.
There's a lot of power to run microwaves, I would assume. Yeah. Okay. So
so right now we're able to run 2 tons per hour. We could run 1 ton an hour. We want to get to 2 tons.
Okay.
And the engineering team that we have working on it said that's very feasible. There's no reason we can't. But when you see how much gas is extracted off of 2 tons of tires, it's a lot. So it's enough to power a 350 kilowatt generator, that's a lot of power.
That's a lot of power, yeah.
It's a big generator.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's all going to work. Right now, we have a unit that works, and it runs the generator, and it's 2 platforms. It's the one that we built, like 4 years ago, I think it was delivered. Then we spent the last 4 years fixing it. I mean, it's like any new invention. You run it, it breaks. We'd run it for 2 hours, it'd break. We need to switch from using a belt to a screw conveyor. We need to change motors out, use heavier duty motors.
Learning.
It was a continual engineering improvement for 3 years.
So where are you at right now? You're making product?
For right now, our prototype works. We run it every day. We spent the last year going to engineering companies saying, can you build this for us? Can you scale it? So we've gone through about 8 engineering companies before we finally settled on ATS. A lot of them came in and said, oh yeah, we could do this, no problem. Then they spent a week or two watching it run and they're like, yeah, we can't do this. So we signed a contract with ATS. They're a worldwide company, publicly traded, $4 billion
Some big
company.
boys.
$4 billion. And
Yeah,
they have
big boys.
65 plants around the world.
Okay.
They have 6,500 engineers on staff.
They liked what they saw.
Oh yeah, they spent a month studying it and said, we can do this, but we want to build a new prototype first, because what you have works and it gives us all the scientific data we need, but we want to make sure before we put these in the field, before we build 100 of them, we want to run one for sure that we built and designed.
Okay.
So we agreed to that. We just signed a contract with them. They're going to build the prototype and 20 units next year. So the guarantee is to deliver a prototype and 20 units in the field by the end of 27.
Are you looking for any test subjects? Maybe
what's
any
that?
Test subjects? Anybody that you'd like to place one of the machines?
Yes, absolutely. We haven't found anybody yet, only because we haven't looked. We have spent the last 7 years focused on engineering. We've gotten down rabbit trails before of what if we did plastics, what if we did this. The problem is that those take away from production. And at a certain point, like after 6 months of not getting anything done, it's like, okay, we have to stop this. Engineering. All we do is focus on this machine until it's running every day without flaw. When we have that done, then we can explore all these other avenues. But right now...
Well, I'm very interested. It's something that we could definitely be a part of. We're a little bit more niche in Idaho, so we're in eastern Oregon, the whole lower belt of Idaho, and some of Wyoming.
Oh, wow.
But that's, a couple million tires, but it's not really giant business like Liberty Tire and Ecorn, some of these, where we can move and be nimble, communicate with you, give you a work site, things like that. So that's something I'd absolutely be interested in getting involved in someday.
That would be great. And,
yeah.
Because you're covering such a big geography, being able to move it every 4 months,
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah, that could work. I think we can do about a couple million tires a year with one unit. So, you could easily clean the whole area up with one unit, which would be exciting.
That is great.
And make money. Hopefully you'd make, $3 or $4 million off of it.
Yeah, so and I guess that would be the other thing, is you'd have to find the outlets for the carbon black, outlets for the oil. Are you planning on getting into that and learning who those folks are?
The last 3 months have been learning all the ins and outs of RCB, N990, N550, and we had to buy some new test equipment. We were able to get our ash down. At this point, we're down below 10%. We want to get it down to about 7%. Our goal is to be at N550.
Okay.
The oil is much easier to get rid of. Most of the oil refiners will just streamline it into their oil and pay you whatever the price of crude is. I have heard people tell me that there are expensive esters in there that they could use if we could make the refining process a little bit more finite. I have not gone down that road yet. The recycled carbon black and the oil on its own are valuable enough, to help the machine pay for itself within a couple of years. So that's
right.
A good...
And it's not drawing any power because it has the gas where it's driving itself. So that's a cost you don't have to deal with running those microwaves.
Exactly. And the goal wasn't even necessarily, to pay for the electricity as much as it was to not need the infrastructure in the field. Most of the tires, the tires I've seen, they're in the middle of nowhere. They're not.
Great point.
They're not sitting there next to a big 3-phase line coming in. It's hey, we're in a field. How do you get energy out here to process this?
That could be very successful, Chris. That's exciting technology.
Well, and also one of the obstacles to recycling tires is all the zoning and the codes. You have to build a building, you have to build a plant, you have to get building permits. And the other problem is, who wants a tire factory in their backyard? If you put in for a permit to build a tire factory in Denver, everybody's going to reject it. So what we're hoping is, being mobile, there'll be some permits that you would need for like EPA or such.
Air quality, there'll be a few things hoops you got to jump through.
But no building permits. And it's not a permanent foundation. So, hey, we have 1 million tires that have collected here over the last 20 years. We can roll in, clean them up, roll
move
out,
it to the next one,
deploy it somewhere else. Or if you have a giant site, you can deploy 20 units there. So to me, it was like the best way to handle the problem. Now we just have to scale
we
it.
talked a little about where you came from, how this idea came about, what you're up to now. What's the future? I mean, obviously I'm an optimist. I'm sure you are too.
I am.
In business and entrepreneurship, you kind of have to be. So what's the next step, you think?
So the next step is we're taking pre-orders now based on ATS's guarantee to deliver the units next year. I'm studying and learning here about the grinding process, what it takes to have, the rubber from the tire put down to 1/4-inch shreds. How much does that equipment cost? Can it be made mobile? And then afterwards, I guess what I've learned is that the RCB has to be ground down to 10 microns. Has to be put into a slurry, pelletized, dried out, put into sacks, and then sent out. So I'm trying to figure out how do we get all that.
Got to tie it all together.
Yeah.
All right, you got some work ahead of you.
I'm hoping that most entrepreneurs that would be able to spend money on something like this would have that infrastructure in place.
Okay.
But I would really like to see the mobile application part finished. Like the shredding equipment I've seen so far is 100-foot long. Can we get one of those that's mobile, that fits on a semi-truck bed? So, the whole thing can be made mobile. That would be much better in my eyes. So I'm trying to figure that part out.
Yeah.
We got work to do. We don't get bored.
Yeah, well, I'm sure. So, is there anything we missed? Anything you
No,
want
you've got
technology-wise? Got the gist of it, huh?
You've got it. If you have any
right.
questions for me, just let me know.
So what's the best way they can reach you if somebody wants to ask you a little bit more about it?
You can get a hold of me at chris@gileaddynamics.com.
Okay.
That's our website. And then the website is gileaddynamics.com. We have
and that's
people there.
it's spelled a little different. So GILEAD dynamics.com.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have guys like Chris on here. That's what this podcast is all about, just getting people a platform that they can share about their new technologies. And Chris, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you again for having me.
Best of luck to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right. Thank you.